How many times have you thought you knew someone, only to be stunned when their true nature emerged in a moment you never expected? What if the secret to seeing someone's real character wasn't buried in years of history or endless conversations, but in watching just two things that never lie? Every person you meet arrives carrying a mask. Some wear it so well that even they begin to believe it. Smiles that never reach the eyes, polite words polished by habit, a careful posture that hides the tremors beneath. You walk into a room and everyone is playing this game, hiding their raw humanity behind rehearsed gestures. Yet no mask can last forever. The cracks always come, and when they do, they are louder than any speech. Jung understood this truth. The unconscious is not silent. It leaks. It spills through tone, through the flicker of an eye, through the way a hand twitches when someone feels cornered. Character is not what people say about themselves. It is what reveals itself when the ego loses control. And nothing strips control faster than discomfort. Think of a friend who boasts of patience, yet explodes the moment they are inconvenienced. Think of the colleague who praises honesty but hides their mistakes when the pressure builds. These contradictions are not accidents. They are the moments when the mask slips, when the rehearsed identity collapses under the weight of reality. And when it collapses, you glimpse the person beneath, naked, unpolished, unprepared. This is why stress is the first lens through which you can see true character. In calm waters, almost anyone can seem virtuous. Words are cheap when nothing is at stake. But when the storm arrives, when fatigue erodes self-control, when loss slices through the illusions, the mask fractures. The real emerges. Jung called this eruption of truth the shadow, the hidden, repressed, unclaimed part of the self. Most people deny its existence, insisting they are only the face they present. But denial cannot silence the shadow. It waits, it simmers, and in the right moment, it bursts through. Now pause and look back. Can you remember the exact moment when someone you thought you knew revealed themselves in a way that stunned you? Perhaps it was a friend who, after years of loyalty, turned cruel in a single argument. Perhaps it was a family member who carried kindness like a banner until stress pulled the fabric apart and something cold showed through. Did you tell yourself that wasn't the real them? Or was it in fact the closest you had ever been to knowing them? This is the uncomfortable truth. We often fall in love with the mask. We trust the mask. We build relationships on the mask. And then we feel betrayed when the shadow surfaces. But the betrayal was never theirs alone. It was ours. For refusing to see what was always there, written in the cracks we chose to ignore. Jung warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Every time you excuse a cruel remark under stress, every time you dismiss a sudden eruption of envy or spite as just the pressure talking, you are ignoring fate in the making. The unconscious does not visit us only in dreams. It writes itself in every slip of the tongue, every flash of anger, every impatient gesture. Ask yourself, what would change if you trained your eyes to watch for these cracks instead of smoothing them over? What if, instead of clinging to the comfort of someone's words, you leaned into the discomfort of their reactions? You would see, perhaps for the first time, the person behind the persona. And when you see them, you can no longer pretend. The question is not whether others will reveal themselves. They always do. The question is whether you will dare to keep your eyes open long enough to notice. In the next part, you'll discover why stress is not the only mirror of character, and how everyday moments of frustration and power reveal truths far more enduring than words ever could. Imagine this. You're standing at a traffic light. A car cuts in front of another, and instantly the air ignites with rage. Horns blare, words are hurled from open windows. In those split seconds, masks disintegrate. What emerges is not the carefully managed face of everyday civility, but the raw surge of shadow breaking through. This is character revealed, not in the long arc of a life, but in the flash of a moment. Stress doesn't just peel back the surface. It accelerates exposure. It strips away the layers of choice and leaves the psyche bare. Jung insisted that under pressure, the unconscious speaks most clearly. It is as though the mind, exhausted from managing appearances, surrenders the stage to forces it normally hides. And those forces, resentment, envy, rage, fear, are not random. They are the architecture of the shadow, the scaffolding of a person's inner life laid bare. Think carefully about the people closest to you. How do they handle the small irritations of life? Do they belittle the waiter when the meal is delayed? Do they snap at their child when they're tired? Do they fume at the slightest inconvenience? Or do they reveal a different foundation, patience, humility, compassion, even when comfort is stripped away? These moments are not minor. They are windows. Through them, you see whether a person's mask is a flimsy disguise or whether their character runs deeper than performance. There is a reason these glimpses are so unsettling. They do not just reveal others, they remind us of ourselves. Think back to the last time you cracked. Did you feel shame after lashing out at someone who didn't deserve it? Did you notice how quickly fear, envy, or irritation sprang forward when you were under pressure? These moments sting precisely because they are undeniable. We can rationalize them away, but deep down we know the shadow spoke. Yet Jung never urged us to destroy the shadow. He knew the shadow is part of us, a reservoir of truth we cannot escape. He wrote, "Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people." This is the task, to see your eruptions not as failures, but as invitations. Invitations to ask, what does this reveal about me? What have I not yet integrated? When you turn toward your own cracks with honesty, you become capable of seeing others with clarity instead of judgment. Watch closely then, not only in grand crises, but in the daily theater of life. True character leaks out in traffic, in waiting lines, in moments when the ego feels thwarted. The shadow is always in motion, searching for its stage. And the more you pay attention, the more fluent you become in its language. Consider how different your relationships would be if you looked through this lens. You would no longer be surprised when someone who seemed endlessly kind revealed cruelty under strain. You would not cling to words as proof of virtue. You would wait for the shadow to speak, and it always does. And when it speaks, you would hear it not as noise, but as revelation. This is why stress is the first test of character. It is the crucible that burns away pretense, the fire that exposes the shape of the soul. Once you see this truth, you cannot unsee it. The question is whether you are willing to face what it reveals, both in others and in yourself. In the next part, you will discover how to train your perception to notice these revelations consciously, turning every ordinary day into a study of truth and a practice of discernment. Up until now, you've glimpsed the cracks in the mask and the shadow in motion. But seeing true character is not only about waiting for storms or dramatic outbursts. If you want to sharpen your perception, you must learn to observe the subtler layers of daily life. The quiet stage where the unconscious reveals itself in whispers instead of shouts. This is where many fail. They expect people to declare themselves openly, to reveal their hearts in grand gestures or confessions. But Jung knew that the psyche rarely speaks so directly. It speaks through patterns, through repetition, through the small details most people dismiss. If you train yourself to look here, you will begin to notice that truth never hides for long. Start with the most ordinary moments. Notice the way someone interrupts or stays silent when others speak. Observe how they react when their opinion is challenged. Pay attention to the rhythm of their attention, who they notice, who they ignore, how their gaze shifts when they feel unseen. Each of these tiny movements is a window into their inner world. Jung taught that individuation, the path toward wholeness, requires learning to step back and watch. Not to judge, not to control, but to witness the psyche as it expresses itself. When you stop clinging to words and begin to watch behaviors, you enter the true study of character. Here is a practice. Place yourself where life is happening, a cafe, a workplace, even a family dinner, and just observe. Not to criticize or compare, but to witness. Notice the unconscious at work, the tapping foot, the forced laugh, the way someone's energy shifts when another person enters the room. Then turn inward. Watch your own impulses too. Do you feel the urge to judge? Do you grow restless without words filling the space? Let yourself sit in the discomfort. Write afterward what you saw. Over time, your notes will reveal a pattern, and the patterns will reveal truth. The beauty of this practice is that it not only sharpens your perception of others, it also exposes your own unconscious reflexes. You may realize you interrupt more than you thought, or that you avoid eye contact when feeling insecure. Each recognition is a step toward what Jung called making the unconscious conscious, and each step gives you greater clarity when looking at others. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves, Jung wrote. This is the paradox. The more you study others, the more you are forced to confront yourself. The clearer you become about your own shadow, the more fluently you can read the shadows of others without being ensnared by judgment. So I ask you, how often do you really watch? How many truths have already been revealed to you but ignored because you were too busy clinging to words? If you decide today to begin observing with the patience of a scientist and the compassion of a philosopher, you will never again be surprised by the sudden crack in a mask. You will see it forming long before it breaks. In the next part, you'll discover how even the brightest masks, charm, politeness, charisma, can dissolve, and why the way someone manages their own persona reveals more about their essence than any confession ever could. Charm is a dangerous disguise, politeness too. How many people have deceived themselves into believing that someone's warm smile or courteous gestures revealed a noble character? And how many have been devastated when the truth surfaced? The truth is simple. Masks of politeness are often the strongest masks of all. They are not lies in the obvious sense, but carefully cultivated personas designed to protect the fragile ego beneath. Jung called this the persona, the face we present to the world, the social mask built to secure belonging, admiration, or safety. And while the persona has its place, it also becomes the perfect cover for the shadow. A person who is excessively charming may be hiding cruelty. One who is unfailingly polite may be masking resentment. The mask is not always a lie, but it is never the whole truth. Consider the person who always has kind words for those above them, yet sharpness for those below. Consider the friend who showers you with compliments in public but turns cold and distant in private. These contradictions are not accidents. They are the shadows slipping through the seams of the persona, and if you watch closely, you will always find them. This is why you must look beyond charm. Look at the way someone behaves when charm is not required. Do they show kindness when there is no audience? Do they honor promises when no one is watching? Do they stay consistent when the mask of politeness cannot win them approval? These are the moments that tell you whether their character is real or merely rehearsed. You must be prepared, however, for what happens when you stop playing along. When you no longer reward the mask, some will accuse you of being cold, aloof, judgmental. But understand, the moment you withdraw your participation in their performance, they feel the weight of their own shadow pressing closer. This discomfort is not your burden. It is the price of truth. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes, Jung wrote. When you stop dreaming about who people present themselves to be and instead awaken to what their behavior reveals, you step outside the theater of illusions. And once awake, you cannot go back to sleep. Think of the people in your life right now. Whose politeness feels too polished, too consistent, too perfect to be entirely real? Whose charm leaves you feeling strangely empty after the performance ends? These intuitions are not paranoia. They are the psyche whispering that the mask does not match the shadow. So I ask you, will you continue to believe in the mask, or will you risk the discomfort of seeing the truth? The answer may cost you certain relationships, but it will save you from the greater cost of deception. Type, "I choose truth" in the comments if you're ready to stop being blinded by masks and start seeing people as they are. In the next part, you will discover the second great lens of discernment, the way a person treats those with no power over them, a test of character that never lies. Up to now, we've looked at the first lens, stress, the crack in the mask, the eruption of the shadow when life presses too hard. But there is another lens, quieter yet just as revealing. If you want to see a person's true character, watch not how they treat those they need or those who can benefit them, but how they treat those who hold no power at all. This is the truth most people overlook. It's easy to perform kindness when kindness will be remembered. It's easy to appear generous when generosity secures admiration. But the soul reveals itself in the unguarded moments with those who cannot repay. Watch someone with a waiter, a cleaner, a stranger on the street. Notice how they behave when no reward or recognition is at stake. This is the second lens through which the mask falls away. Jung knew that projection does not stop at the people we envy or desire. It reaches also to the powerless, those onto whom we unconsciously cast the parts of ourselves we would rather not claim. Contempt for others often reflects contempt for the rejected parts of our own psyche. And when someone belittles, dismisses, or ignores the powerless, they are not merely revealing poor manners. They are projecting the very contents of their own shadow. Think of the person who bows before authority but sneers at the subordinate, the one who praises equality in theory but cannot meet the eyes of a homeless man, the one who boasts of love but uses silence to punish the ones closest to them. These are not slips of character. They are glimpses into the essence of the self, uncloaked of persona. Ask yourself, when was the last time you watched someone in this light? Did you excuse their cruelty as stress or nothing serious, when in fact it was the clearest revelation of their soul? Jung's warning comes alive here. The best political, social, and spiritual work we can do is to withdraw the projection of our shadow onto others. What someone despises in the powerless is often what they cannot face within themselves. And what of you? Have you ever caught yourself dismissing someone who could offer you nothing in return? These moments are not trivial. They are the mirror in which you see your own unconscious hierarchies. To integrate them is to begin the work of individuation. To deny them is to remain blind. The second lens is not about grand gestures. It is about the unnoticed. It is about who a person becomes when the world is not watching, when the ego believes there is nothing to gain and no applause to earn. If you want to see someone's true nature, do not only wait for storms, watch them in the quiet moments with the powerless. There, the unconscious reveals itself as surely as thunder reveals the storm. And so the question hangs before you. Are you ready to look through this second lens, knowing that what you see may change forever the way you relate to those around you? In the next part, you will learn how to apply this awareness in daily life, training yourself to notice the subtle yet unmistakable signs that separate authentic character from well-crafted illusion. It is one thing to know the two lenses, stress and powerlessness. It is another to live with the eyes to see them. Knowledge without practice is like light hidden under a bowl. It exists, but it cannot guide you. To truly see, you must cultivate discernment as a daily habit, not a rare epiphany. Begin here. The next time you are with someone you know, or even a stranger, shift your attention from their words to their gestures. If stress enters the room, even in a small way, watch their response. Do they seek control? Do they lash out? Or do they breathe, wait, and remain steady? Each response tells you more about their soul than hours of conversation. Then, watch the powerless moments. At a cafe, notice how they address the waiter. At a store, observe how they treat the cashier. At home, notice how they speak to their child when tired, or to a partner when frustrated. Do they carry kindness only upward to those who can reward them, or do they extend it downward to those who cannot? Here is a practice. Keep a small notebook, and for 1 week, record only these two things: how people respond to stress and how they treat the powerless. Write down not just others, but yourself. You may be shocked by what you find. Patterns emerge quickly. You will begin to see who crumbles under the smallest irritation and who remains steady. You will notice who uses power to humiliate and who uses power to uplift. The page will not lie, even when the person does. This practice is not for cynicism, it is for clarity. When you see with these lenses, you stop being deceived by charm or words. You no longer need to guess who someone is. Their actions will speak, and their actions will be consistent. And when inconsistency appears, it is often the shadow surfacing, demanding to be noticed. Jung reminds us, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Many cannot bear this task, so they scatter their shadow onto others. This is why discernment is so rare. Most people prefer the mask because seeing clearly obliges you to act. If you see cruelty in someone's treatment of the powerless, can you still excuse them? If you see selfishness erupt under stress, can you still tell yourself they are trustworthy? Once you see, you cannot return to blindness. And yet, this clarity is not a burden. It is a gift. To walk through life with eyes open is to free yourself from illusions that would one day shatter. To see people as they are, not as they wish to appear, is to step outside the endless cycle of disappointment. It is to stand on solid ground, even when others stumble. So I ask you, are you willing to keep that notebook, to make these observations, to turn your life itself into a laboratory of character? If you are, you will begin to see the world in a way few ever do. Type, "I choose clarity" in the comments if you are ready to put these two lenses into practice. In the next part, you will learn how to unite these lenses into a single vision, a way of perceiving that cuts through illusions and gives you the power to know people as they truly are. You now hold two lenses in your hands. The first, how someone behaves under stress when the mask collapses and the shadow storms the stage. The second, how they treat the powerless when no reward or recognition is at stake. Alone, each lens reveals much. Together, they form a clarity so sharp it cuts through illusion like glass. Think of the people you know. Perhaps you've seen one of them explode under pressure, but otherwise treat others kindly. Perhaps another never raises their voice, yet you've noticed how they ignore the powerless, walking past those in need as if they do not exist. Stress and power. These are not accidents, not quirks. They are the hidden architecture of the psyche in action. When you see both, you no longer need to ask who someone is. Their character declares itself. Jung's insight was always that the unconscious is not silent. It spills through cracks, through masks, through small gestures. You are what you do, not what you say you'll do, he insisted. And what you do under strain, what you do when no one is watching. This is the truth that endures. But here is the deeper layer. When you learn to see others clearly, you are also forced to see yourself. Have you noticed your own shadow when stress strips away your patience? Have you caught yourself turning away from someone who could give you nothing in return? These realizations sting, but they are not punishments. They are invitations to integrate, to grow, to become whole. To live with these two lenses is to live awake. You stop confusing masks for reality. You stop dreaming about who people pretend to be and instead awaken to who they are. You carry discernment like a lantern, lighting the faces around you not with judgment, but with clarity. And as illusions dissolve, something remarkable happens. Relationships grow deeper, or they fall away. Both outcomes are gifts, because both are truth. You began this journey with a simple question. How can you see someone's true character? Now you know. Not through their words, not through their charm, not through the masks they wear, but through two unshakable truths: how they respond to stress and how they treat those with no power over them. These two lenses are not tools for cynicism. They are tools for liberation. For once you see clearly, you can no longer be deceived by performance. You are free to walk away from illusions. You are free to build bonds on reality instead of masks. You are free to step into what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming whole, both in yourself and in the way you see the world. The task is not easy. It requires courage to notice, to record, to confront what you see in others and in yourself. But if you take this path, you will never again confuse appearance for essence. You will never again be surprised when the shadow emerges, because you will already know it was always there, waiting. So let me ask you one last time. Are you ready to see, truly see, without turning away? Type "I see clearly" in the comments if you are ready to live with these two lenses, no longer deceived by words or masks. And remember, this journey does not end here. The next video completes this path, carrying you deeper into the heart of Jung's wisdom, into the very fabric of relationships, power, and the hidden self. Do not miss it. The privilege of a lifetime, Jung wrote, is to become who you truly are. May you now claim that privilege, not only for yourself, but in the way you see every soul around you.